Let's look at food processing as one way to add value to agricultural produce. Earlier, when I introduced the discussion, I mentioned that the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, estimates globally 14% food losses before they reach the market, which it puts together is valued at about $400 billion. Let's understand first the reasons for post-harvest losses.
Thank you. Thank you. There seems to be like a lag. Certainly, the market is large. The market is huge. It's a given there. I mean, we're humans. We live on food every day. Literally every 5-6 hours. Generally, humans would eat one thing or the other, and in between, there are a lot of other things that we consume as well. Processing is key and central. That's part of the value chain. And that's where you have value addition. And that's where you really get the benefit therein in any product. So yeah, processing, particularly in horticulture, all the vegetables and things for us here, and things like in yam. Cassava, of course, can last long, but there are a lot of things that we need to process. By processing, we mean we need to transform a particular product from what it is to what it should be, the varied forms it is. You can pick granules, you can pick maize, you can pick tomatoes or vegetables. From a tomato, you can have a variety of tomato purees and so on and so forth. And you can package them in different forms. You can pick spices, the same thing. You can combine a variety of spices to have a particular blend, a particular product of yours. You can pick, say, the fruit trees, the fruits generally. You can have tens of thousands of different combinations of fresh fruits, fresh drinks at the end of the day. No additives that are healthy to us. Yeah, certainly you need the processing capability. Chicken, you can definitely be able to go ahead and process chicken into various products, 35 different products in a chicken. In a cow, 55 different products. In granules, 17 different products. But without processing, you lose it, vastly lose it.
Agree that food processing helps to create value addition in all aspects of agriculture. But why are we not doing so much of processing in Nigeria?
Very good question. It's really frustrating. It's a huge loss to the farmer, to the individual, huge loss to the system, huge loss to government, huge loss to our GDP. I mean, we're projecting, Goldman Sachs is projecting that we will soon be a $3.4 trillion economy. The only way we can go is to industrialize. We're not, because of a variety of reasons. We may argue that, yeah, some would argue that we are RWA. We're ready, we're willing, we're able. But some of us would argue that we're not ready. We're willing, okay, but we're not able. Mentally, genotype-wise, intellectually, yeah, we may be, but in terms of preparedness, reality on the ground, we're not able to. And the reasons are because of a variety of things. We don't even know the market we're going to go into. Do we even know our products? What's the value proposition? The product value proposition that we have from a variety of things. What are the competition doing? Where are the competition engaged? What is the market that we're going to be going into? What are the needs of that peculiar market? What are the entry barriers? First, we cannot even exit. Another reason why we're not, if you like, processing is government policy, government direction, decision making, costs, infrastructure, absence of simple basic thing. We've been going on and on about this. Electricity. No nation on earth ever develops without electricity. And the size of your GDP is commensurate to the amount of electricity, energy you generate at the end of the day. So yeah, there are many barriers. It could be the vision itself. it could be the individual itself, the excellence that we keep talking about every now and again. It could be resources, a variety of resources, infrastructure, the ports. So there are reasons why we're not processing, because we don't even have, like, the simple basic thing as financial strength, the banking. All of these are some of the reasons that are, if you like, holding us back, and we're not able to process and take the full advantage of the value chain.
Thank you very much, sir. Now let's go local. Let's go very, very local to the basics. Information is key. And if we go to the villages, let's look for those, well, almost every part aside the Sahel side of the country. Most villages farm cassava and is a staple to them. And from cassava alone, we can get well over 200 byproducts from cassava. Out of these 200 byproducts, we import all of it. Every one of it we still import in this country. Now let me talk about the villagers. If they know they can make money from peeling their cassava, the same thing they throw away, don't you think they will want to go ahead and use it for something? That for them right now, that might not need machinery or need some electricity to get that byproduct processed. Just a landfill for biogas, just a landfill for fertilizer, just a landfill. If they know that this information, okay, we know that this is how this is done and we can use this, don't you think they will follow up, since they know they can also make money from what they throw away?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. Now, information is key in anything, everything. Communication is key. Now, but how can they go about doing the biogas? Do you know the health and safety requirements and the regulations involved in biogas? The risks involved, the time involved, the process that is required for you to be able to get biogas? You need to be able to, if you like, tap it. Once you layer whatever it is that you're layering in order to get gas, it could be maybe even used food items, after remnants of food that we eat, and the cassava peeling, you say, okay, yeah, there's no any much resources needed, seemingly at the face of it, but definitely is a high-tech sector. It's not something you take for granted. You don't just throw away the peelings anyhow. No, there is a process, and you interspace them in certain ways. You lay them in certain ways. You lay pipes that will be able to harness the gas, and you're able to channel the gas. You're able to filter the gas. You're able to now provide the gas to somebody, measure the gas. All of this needs resources. It needs technical knowledge at a very high level. It's not just a low end, if you like, sector. It is really a high-end sector and a high-risk sector as well. So yeah, the individual will certainly want to add value to themselves, will maximize their profits in this kind of way. Cassava, you say, definitely too, is bigger and better than rice, but we're not processing it.
All right, but even as that example, for instance, may need high technology, what are some processing that can be done traditionally that the farmers may need to know about?
Well, the very basic processes that they are already aware of. We've gone to our limits. Given the challenges of the present times, given the money crunch, given the need for everybody to maximize whatever it is that he or she has, farmers are actually ingenious in being able to find ways in which they can maximize profitability. So, excuse me, you find that the basic things we are doing are basically the gari, even the water out of the cassava. After you soaked the cassava, that in itself can be a byproduct. Of course, the leaves are byproduct. We can use it for animal feed. We humans can also consume it. Naturally, the stem is used to replant again. The roots, the peelings, and so on. Okay, it's not just industrial starch we're talking, which we're going to get out of. But one of the other major wahala is we don't have enough output of cassava. We're one of the biggest, if not the biggest producer of cassava on earth. We know that. But once you begin to go mechanical, you begin to mechanize, you begin to process, then you find that the cassava we're producing is grossly inadequate. So we need to provide and create far more greater output. Because a lot of those things that we're saying are in value addition. It's not just at a smaller quantity. You need a larger quantity of anything. The biogas we just mentioned, you need huge quantities of cassava fillings all together in one place, not scattered. So one of the issues we're having is that we have individual tenants. An individual in their own home would have just a certain quantity of peelings. So the farmer may not necessarily be able to do much with that. What he needs, if he or she is to maximize the value addition within, then they need to come together as cooperatives so that all the peelings will pull together, for instance, then a biogas thing can be. So farmers at the moment, to answer your question, farmers at the moment have reached their limits of what they can do in terms of maximizing value at a very local, very basic level.
Thank you very much. Now, let's look at our schools. We have a lot of universities of agriculture, we have a lot of institutes of agriculture, both for seeds, both for some special crops. Now, every year, let's look at the students. The students do projects, whether supervised by their senior lecturers or supervised by PhD students. And this projects all end up somewhere in a shelf. Some of these projects are profitable. Some of these projects are just for certification. But is there a way where we can connect the private sector, the investing sector, to see some of these projects? I'm not talking about research yet, just the students' project. And is there a way to make that connect between the private sector and some of this research, or even if it's information through National Orientation Agency, that can help the local people, the farmer, or the processing companies have access to this knowledge? Because it's a knowledge that will either make life better, or make seeding better, or make processing better, or even a new product. Is there a way where we can get this running to improve food and processing in this nation?
Oh, yeah. That's one of the areas in which I think we are really, truly, actually excelling within the academia. Now, there's the dissertation abstracts. Virtually all dissertations, they are kind of summarized, and you have dissertation abstracts, and where people can go and have access to that. Not necessarily undergraduate dissertations, but most masters, certainly all PhD dissertations, are contained within the dissertation abstracts. Now, the difficulty of that naturally is to be able to communicate. We talked about communication and information earlier on in a user-friendly manner to somebody who is, say, who is a farmer in villages. They need it in such a form, in such a way that is very practical, that is tangible, that is really not an academic exercise. So yes, there are ideas out there that our young persons have identified that are useful. I tell you, oil rises to the top. At the end of the day, any practical idea that has been maybe identified within our academic circles and communities always usually ends up somewhere being used practically. At the end of the day, it might not be used as wide as we would want it to. It might not be taken further and developed more into something more tangible, maybe, but definitely ideas are always utilized. They're not just shelved. Somebody somewhere utilizes it. Now, depending on the level, if an individual invents something, identifies an idea or a practical thing that would improve a particular process, improve a particular practice, at the end of the day, it behooves our supervisors, it behooves the academic community, it behooves the individual themselves to be able to carry it forward, find a way in which they can make it available to the wider community. So yeah, this is definitely an area in which I think we're doing quite well.
What about the technology that is needed to transform some of the food from the raw original state into other byproducts. What can the food processors have access to some of these technologies, some of this equipment? Because it seems to be a big challenge.
The ideas are simple, basic, plug and play. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. The technologies are there. Our major problem is that of leadership. 1, vision. 2, strategy. 3, resources. There's no money. Let's be honest. These things are not going to be given to us free, but in reality, it's given to us by the provider, by the persons that manufacture it, literally for free. Any of these technologies, it gives us 1,000, 10,000 times the value of whatever amount of money we pay for. So that's what I mean when I say it's given to us practically free. But we need to initially purchase it, acquire these technologies, and bring them in. There are technologies that are ideas only. We understand that. We recognize that. We are maximizing those. Nigerians are extremely astute. We're very, very practical. But the real tangible wahala is in having financial resources. Our banking is also another big issue. Like I say, the vision and leadership, government policies is another issue. Importing and exporting is 4, 5, 7 times in some areas more expensive than our neighboring countries. Individuals themselves, another hindrance, individuals themselves, they may not know how to use those technologies. So we need to benchmark, we need to have expertise that would come and help us and support us. That's not going to come free. That also needs to be paid.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now let's look at some form of policy. They say when someone is pushed, action is taken. Is it possible? Is it something we can envision where government can come up with a policy and say, for every raw material, I'm looking at the food products right now, be it cassava, be it maize, be it sorghum, be it that you can't export these products directly until we have gotten a percentage of byproducts from this particular set of products. Is it possible for government to look towards that angle and say, okay, good, this is where we are looking at? And for this raw material, this direct farm produce, this direct farm products, whatever it is, you can't export a percentage of it until we have gotten this percentage to get byproducts from them.
Oh yeah, it's possible. Very possible. Has been done in many societies, many cultures, on solid minerals, on other, if you like, difficult to source food items. For instance, blossom honey, mountain honey. Now, with responsibility comes accountability. When you say, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. Now, if the government makes a policy like that, then you have to be able to back it up. Look at, let's take examples of other policy areas that governments in other parts of the world have made. When you make such a policy, you must make sure that all the related support systems and services and structures are in place. So, do we have the banking? You make a policy like that, do you have the banking? I would say at the moment we're struggling. Naturally, your laws, are they export friendly? Are they friendly to users of that particular policy that you're trying to gain maximum advantage and value therein? Probably not, we don't have. Do we even have simple basic physical structures like the ports? So when you make a policy like that, you have to have systems in place. You have to have structures in place. You have to have expertise in place. You have to have support systems in place. You have to have ways of implementing it. Look at simple basic thing. A loan, a simple basic loan that we give out, we cannot even follow through to ensure that the loan is actually given to the recipient that is intended, or follow through to make sure that it is used. And we're talking about value addition in processing. Indonesia, for instance, they decided to, in one given year, only 2-3 years back, in one given year, stop the export of a particular commodity, steel. They suddenly were forcing individuals to what? To process steel. And they became one of the biggest stainless steel provider. And it provided added value to them. It used to be 1B. Now it's more than 25 billion in just 3 years. And it's going to soon be adding to 25% of their GDP. 25% of their exports. 25%, one commodity only. Yes, it's possible, but is it probable in our given environment? Probably not, because we are not RWA. We're not ready, we're not willing, and we're not able yet at this current time time and space. If we decide to, then government has to take the initiative. And once government takes the initiative, it's not just making a law and a pronouncement. Can you even follow through on enforcing that law? No. Are there all the systems, all the structures, all the support structures in place for one to be able to take maximum advantage of, say, Blossom Honey asset? What can we even export? What product are we talking about? To which market? So you cannot just make a policy like that, a blanket policy like that in a vacuum. You have to root it. That's why I say vision, strategy, leadership, knowing what we're supposed to do, making sure that all the resources, and it's not just material resources, it's human resources, it's expertise, is the conducive environment. The climate is not there. The environment is not there. So making a policy like that will be foolhardy, as a matter of fact.
Now, in identifying the kind of products to produce and also identifying the target markets, as someone who is very involved in agriculture, can you tell us areas that we may have a comparative advantage? Because the food processing market is very competitive. Even in Nigeria, we have the influx of foreign processed foods. So in what area do we have comparative advantage? In livestock processing or in certain crop processing? What should we be focusing on?
Focusing on what the market needs. So first is to identify the market, and the market, they don't need maize, they don't need soya beans, they don't need such things. But like you say, livestock, they don't need our meat, but they need our hide and skin. The hide and skin of our cows is one of the best on earth. It's matured hide, sun-baked hide. Sokoto area, Katsina area, Maiduguri area, the far north area where cows are grown. Those hides are used by high-end Mercedes-Benz cars and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and the Audis and the BMWs. That's one. Blossom Honey, I mentioned it. Mountain honey is one of the best. We have one of the best on earth. Our ginger, the potency of our ginger is second to none on earth. Benny seed is another aspect, another area that we do. The cassava we're taking for granted. Do we know what industrial starch can do to the world and to us as a nation? That GDP we're talking about, the 3.4 trillion naira we are aiming and working towards. So these are some of the areas that we can take maximum advantage. There are things that we don't need to. Our research centers have come up with yam that will give us high starch content. That will also give us cassava. So the normal basic run-of-the-mill type, ordinary, off-rip type product, no, we don't need to bother. But we need to identify first our market. Then we see the value addition in those products that those markets need, how they need it, what are the levies there, what are the quotas there, who is providing, who are the competitors. Leave fruits out, except if it is organic fruits. But our problem again is consistency and quantity and quality.
What are your thoughts on addressing the issue of transportation, moving farm produce from the farm to the market? I've mentioned that I think it would be good to have some processing plants situated around the farms. But what do you think?
Oh yes, you're absolutely correct. Luckily we have a big country, a vast country, huge population, distances to cover. And then we produce a variety of things in different places. You're absolutely correct. In addition to the basic needs of, say, cold storage, cold transportation, and whatnot, for those products with short shelf life, we can do what you just said. So we will have semi-processing. We may not even have full processing in one location. We'll have semi-processing, whereby you can extend the life of the shelf life of that particular product so that it will be able to reach to the market with minimal loss. You can also have some kind of like semi-processing because individuals in themselves may not be able to. And big processing factories may not be sited all over. So what you do, therefore, is to have associations. That's why we are very, very big on associations. An individual on their own cannot, because to have even a simple thing as a semi-processing center to dry ginger, as an example, to extend the shelf life of tomatoes or any horticulture, vegetables, you need a group of farmers, which means volume production, which means organizing, like you say, the leadership and the management side of things, the vision. So you organize farmers, let them come together, have a semi-processing plant. If you're big enough or if you're rich enough, you have a full processing plant. Of course, you then have kind of transportation, cold storage if you can. And even if you don't have cold storage transport systems, you can have cold houses. And there are ingenious ways in which you don't have to have necessarily a totally, completely modern, high-end refrigerated cold storage. There are ways in which we have traditionally stored our tomatoes. Of course, these days it's best to have, if you like, the proper cold storage. But then when farmers come together in an association, in a community development type effort, commercially driven, obviously, then they'll be able to extend that shelf life. And they'll be able to either transport it to where the processing plant is, or to where a semi-processing plant is, or even in themselves process it to the point whereby it can be extended and the full value addition achieved.
The first set is the farmer. So if the farmer gets it wrong, whoever is at the top there is getting it wrong. It's in for a disadvantage, or having a business failure. Let's ask, what about improved seedling? And not just improved seedling that gets to the farmer and he knows how to use it. How can the institutes that are around, or the extension workers that are supposed to be there to teach the farmer and educate and be with him through the process, how can we improve on this particular movement, this particular sector, and make sure the farmer plants right, gets it right, before we now talk about harvesting and movement?
We really, really appreciate and we're grateful to our subculture labs, research centers and institutes and universities. This is one area in which we can confidently say we are really doing great. We can pat ourselves on the back on that one. Now, improve seedlings. Pick any product, pick any food item. We have improved on it. Some of the challenges, however, of that is that we would have to genetically modify some of those products. Simple thing as tree crops. We've improved it. Look at our plantains. Look at our pawpaw. Look at our mangoes. Look at, of course, oranges and all the variety, the 10s, 30, 40 different kinds of particular oranges and lemons and whatnot. Look at our pineapples. We have improved on those difficult areas with short shelf life. Naturally, cereals, we have improved on it. In the north, we have what we call Dang Arba'in, i.e. the 40-day seed, the black eye bean. From the day you plant it to the day you harvest it is 40 days exactly. And it takes minimal rain. So yes, we have that. Farmers know that. This is one aspect in which we are doing really great. Cassava also, we've done a lot on it. Our corn, we've done a lot on it. Sweet corn, all the way to corn that we use for silage to feed cows and so on. So we have improved seriously in those aspects. This is an area that I think actually we are ahead of the game, whereby the research centers, the research institutes are, and farmers get to know. Now, one of the challenges of that, or some of the challenges of that, is that the seedlings cannot be viral. Some of the seedlings are not viral. And that means the farmer has to what? Keep buying the seed in which to plant every season. That takes us back to, again, resources and money, and of course, availability. And more research needed, more government support needed. So it's beyond actually information. I think our farmers are fully informed. They know what seedling is, if you like, genetically modified, or what seedling is, if you like, organic. And they know what the market needs. Unfortunately, the organic ones, they take longer to mature and to ripe, and they're more tasty. The potency is better, but they may not look as nice, as rounded as the genetically modified one. So the market may decide to say, okay, we're going for the genetically modified. The farmer then moves and does the genetically modified, so maize or black-eyed beans or whatever it is. But then the problem is that every year he or she has now to invest more resources.
Now, let's even look at, because what you just talked about, you did a comparison between the organic food and the genetically modified agricultural products. Some of them, one seems to be more potent than the other. But let's look at processing. Yeah. Around here, we still have a great taste for organic food. And that also affects the perception of processed food. Some persons feel like because they are processed, they do not retain the same nutritional value as the original state that they were in. Is this correct? And if it is, are there ways to ensure that while food is processed, the nutritional value stays?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. There's that perception. And one of the things that people like us try to do is we manage perception, we manage expectations, and we manage also, if you like, people's experiences. So government has to do that along with the processors, i.e. manufacturers. Another aspect is trust. The processor, in the bid for maximum profit, we may cut corners. I'm saying we as an inclusive term. But processors may cut corners, unfortunately, and they will do things, certain practices that are either immoral or unethical, and some downright, outrightly illegal at the end of the day. Now, back to the point both of you mentioned earlier on, information. We need to convey clear information to consumers and tell consumers that this particular product is not adulterated. If a particular product is adulterated and it is watered down, then at the end of the day, you find that it matters. Simple things like, I'm not going to call any product name, margarine and butter. If I asked you, the butter you and I eat today does not smell like butter, does not taste like butter. Yes? But yet we consume it because there is no other alternative. A simple thing as an egg. When you fry an egg, does it smell like an egg to you? No. Does it taste like what egg used to be? No. It's adulterated. Look at some of our even drinks. Similar thing would happen to them. The detergents and so on. So now that's going out of, say, food. But if you stay within the food sector, at the end of the day, people, manufacturers, processors may cut corners for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's to prolong the shelf life. That's one of the reasons why butter does not taste like butter, because of the additives to prolong the shelf life. Why are we prolonging the shelf life of butter? Because we don't have refrigerated facilities in homes. Even when we have refrigerated facilities in home, we don't have electricity to store it. And butter, keep it outside, it melts. And what will the manufacturers do? They put in the additives that will keep the butter as it is. Look at even yogurt. Today, you can have yogurt and you keep yogurt out of the refrigerator and it won't go off. But does it taste like yogurt? Like the no you and I are aware of? So yes, people will increasingly not trust a particular product, but because of necessity, because there is no any other alternative, what do? People go for the one that is available, because all you need to do is to fill the stomach. Potency is always best with organic, absolutely correct. But we sometimes are our own undoing, and government regulators can help. Regulators can show enforce, but regulators also are disappointing us in this environment.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Let's progress that particular line of thought. We have several big small scale processing plants in Nigeria, and one issue that keeps cropping up is NAFDAC. From time to time they tell us in this particular product there are preservatives, let me use that particular word, be it ascorbic acids, be it lactic acids, be it any of this that are being used in this product, and they tell you it's not good for your health. But we also know that for, let's say, dairy products, those particular acid tolerant bacteria can also act as preservatives. So why don't they grow it and use it as preservatives? We don't know. For cassava and for most fermented products, their preservatives are in them. But why don't companies use those particular preservatives that are natural to preserve those products? We don't know. How can we enforce and tell NAFDAC, do the right thing?
Absolutely spot on, you're correct. Now, generally speaking, on anything and every product, be it food-based or non-food-based, you're talking quality. When you say quality, you're talking costs. You're talking time. You're talking trust in the process of providing that particular product. You're talking enforcement. You're talking whereby an individual that is, if you like, providing that particular item, that particular product, is reliable enough to be able to do that which they say they are going to be doing. But given today's environment, given today's climate and the mindset of maximum profitability, people tend to cut corners. One, the consumer may not be able to purchase the item. Now, I talked about a moment ago about eggs not smelling like eggs when you fry them, or black eyed beans. When I used to be younger, whenever you're coming back home in the evening, mom is cooking beans, 50 meters away, you know beans are being cooked. Why? The smell. Because it's genetically modified. To get those kind of beans, they're available still today, but it costs you more. So, and it takes longer to provide and produce, to farm. It's the same thing with anything. The preservatives, additives, colorants are used. So you find that if we're to have the beneficial edible preservatives, which is great, which we need, it will cost us. But would the consumer be able to? Are we going to have sufficient quantity? Look at our ginger. It's the best ginger by far on earth. Ginger from the area called Southern Kaduna. The biggest farmers of the most potent ginger on earth. Luckily, we produce some of it, but in Nigeria, not as potent. Of course, there are bigger ginger providers in the world. China is one, but their potency is not us. So that's quality we're talking. But how much can we produce over what kind of period? China can churn out that thing faster, bigger, it looks nicer, it's more rounded, more better to the eye. Again, back to the perception, emotions, and feelings aspect, which is what the consumer wants at the end of the day, quality. So there are people that can afford the quality, i.e. the better produce, the better additives, the better, if you like, colorants at the end of the day. Bread is an example. There are different ranges of bread. Higher quality bread, lower quality bread. People tend to go for more average to lower quality bread. Why? Because they can afford it.
Okay. In a place like Nigeria, we have taste for different things, and our markets are open to the influx of different kinds of product, whether they're in the raw state or already processed. Take, for instance, you were talking about ginger and Nigeria having the best or one of the best ginger in the world because of its potency. But how much of this knowledge does the producers of ginger in Nigeria even know? How much do the consumers of ginger in Nigeria know? Now, where I'm going is this. In the markets today in Nigeria, you have different kinds of products introduced and from different countries. It seems to give us a preference for foreign produced items, like pepper, for instance. You have the Cameroon pepper. You have different kinds of pepper from Nigeria. When women, because most people who go to the market to shop for food items are women, go to the market, they're asking for Cameroon pepper. They're asking for certain kinds of food produced from other countries. In what way will the awareness come that we know we make demand based on quality? Because the demand for these food items seems to be made on the assumption that because they come from a different country or from a different part, they should be better than us. Being aware of the potency or the value of the food that we have. How do we come by that, and how does it become widespread knowledge to encourage the production and even the appreciation of these things?
You're right. We cannot be an island, obviously. We understand that. But at the same time, we cannot be a dumping ground, so to speak. There are certain products and food items that are far better. Ours are of a better quality, better potency, better value than what we know. Is an understanding of our products and the value proposition of a particular product, and to maybe begin to differentiate between a product from another country and another. Naturally, there's room for tastes. Naturally, there's room for options. Naturally, there's room for choice for those that can afford it. We're not saying that we should stop and ban certain products, but at the same time, it's what we do. We're back again to the perception, emotions, and feeling thing. People get used to a particular product. People get to like a particular product, maybe because of color, maybe because of taste, maybe because of cost, maybe because of how it looks. Simple things that we import here in our country, Maggi. We import them based on seasoning from where? How good are those seasoning to us? We can blend our own vegetable type seasoning, but then can we cube those seasoning? Cubing technology is not easy. So we're back again to basics. We need to work together. Leadership has to understand what we are supposed to be heading. What path, what direction are we going as a nation on the kind of food items we give our young people? Baby foods. Do you see the range of baby foods out there? Unbelievable. What do we know is in them? And we're feeding these young brains, these young ones, impressionable. They believe you and I as adults. They trust us as parents. And we are shoving whatever it is that we find on the shelf on them. So it's up to us to begin to. It's up to regulators to begin to. It's up to government to begin to create the kind of environment and climate that would encourage us not only to look inward, but to begin to maximize the value therein of those things that we have. You talked about the spices and the Cameroon pepper. Okay, they are neighbors. Maybe we say, okay, we like it. It's pepperish because a lot of people like pepper. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Why can't we have an alternative or a similar thing in Nigeria? We just call it Cameroon pepper because maybe we understood it. We produce the same thing, probably even better at the end of the day. So awareness again comes in, information comes in, and the provider, instead of just going for the profit motive, which is what most of us do, either as consumers or as providers of a product or service, we, the provider, we say, it not concern me. All I need is to sell it. The consumer, oh, it's cheap enough, I buy it. So we do what? We dump things from outside. We get things dumped on us, and we become an import dumping country, a consumer nation, whereby we are not even checking. Our regulators are failing us woefully. They're not policing and checking and guarding what is the best asset of the nation, i.e. the people.
Okay, so one more question from me. I like to go back to the farmers. A lot of the produce they take from the farm and store over time. I'm looking at the millets, I'm looking at majorly the grains, and we're also looking at some tubers and some are along that line. Most farmers don't have the ability to store large numbers of this, but they can produce large numbers of this. Is there a way? We used to have some government silos around Kaduna, Plateau, and somewhere here in the West. Is there a way where we can go back to this particular culture of ours, where we can get, be it government, private initiative, to get this particular storage facilities to the farmers, so they won't be scared of producing what they can, be it individually or as a group? Because if we can't feed ourselves, we are still dependent on grains coming from countries that we are far bigger than. So is there a way we can look at this particular storage facilities being rehabilitated or new ones being built, be it government or private initiatives?
You touched on something that I'm passionate about, that I love. I didn't think you were that. I was thinking you are a lot younger, sir, and I didn't think you're that old enough to know the silos that were there in the north. There were silos, absolutely. We loved them. We used to go play around those silos. We used to enjoy seeing the way we had strategic food reserves. That phrase, strategic food reserve, is now alien. What you just touched on is absolutely critical, fundamental to the survival of any nation. We need to have silos. We need to have storage reserves, maybe even underground. Our farmers are doing the best they can. They use smoke in order to preserve the life of a particular product, be it maize, be it corn, be it millet. Granules, we used to store it, or they store it in places where it can last longer, and they have ways of doing it. Simple things like potatoes, low shelf life. There are ways in which our farmers are storing it. But at the moment, in today's present day and age, with our population of almost 220 million individuals, 85% of whom are 40 years and below, we need to be far more strategic. We need to have silos. We need to have processing centers. We need to have even reserves or archives whereby we store certain potent products, the seedlings of certain products underground. We need to be really, really serious about thinking of ourselves and the future. And that's the one thing we are failing the next generation. My generation, we are lucky. Life was given to us on a platter of gold, and we're messing it up. And one of those things that we need to do right now, as a nation, as a people, leadership, I hope you're listening. Please begin to have strategic food reserves of all kinds in the nation. They will talk about money, resources, and all that. No, the private sector can come in. We know of the private sector wanting to come in, but there are certain limits to what the private sector can do. We need the enabling environment. We need the climate. We need some infrastructure. That cannot just be building roads, for instance. Okay, you may argue and say we can go on to generate electricity. Yeah, we understand that, and then sell. But then look at the situation within the electricity sector. When you generate electricity, how much, the pylons, are they there? What is lost? Even when the discos, when they are distributing, are they really truly distributing? Are the producer of the electricity, the generator, are they being rewarded accordingly? So there are a variety of things we need to put together and make sure that government, You have that trust. You've been given that trust, and you're duty bound. In Hausa, we call it amana. You've been given a trust, and you're supposed to be responsible not to betray such a trust and to lead society into the future as a custodian. So I am totally with you. I'm passionate about such things like silos, reserves, storages, and what I mean, if there is a crisis in this country, how long are we going to feed the nation? We can't, because we don't have any reserves.
Forward, still talking about processing, we have food technologists and we have people studying food technology in various institutions. What should be the focus now of those who are into food technology? How should they complement both the farmers and the processors?
Excellent. Quality, quantity, consistency, standardization. You see, if I can pick any product that we kind of are exporting at the moment that is high value, sesame seed that Nigeria exports, mountain honey. There are 17 different kinds of honey in Nigeria. If somebody gets used to honey, say you're exporting to places like Turkey, you're exporting to, say, Dubai, you're exporting to Germany, and they have a particular quantity this time round. The next month, they will never, ever, forever get that same quantity. One, they will never get the same quality. Two, they will never get the same color. Why are we so inconsistent? That's why we're not able to play in the world scene. Other providers are doing that far better. Look at our fruits and vegetables, our avocado pear. Our avocado pear is one of the best around because it's organic. But we can never, ever produce and provide a tenth of the quantity that we would maybe claim to say we would provide to any outside consumer. As a matter of fact, even within the country, we cannot feed the nation in a consistent manner on a certain product with certain consistency, with a certain look, with a certain taste over time. Not for 3 months. We cannot in our country. So long as our, if you like, scientists, our technologists, whatever we call them, are there and they play in their role, what they can do is to help us to ensure to a large extent that we have some kind of consistency. We have peace of mind. It's health and safety issues, remember? So they have to play a role too there. And making sure that not only are we going to be getting the quantity, but we're getting the quality, we're getting the peace of mind, the assurances that what we are taking, what we are ingesting, what we are consuming is good enough for our bodies and particularly for younger ones.